Well, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Men Being Men. Welcome to another episode of Real Men Being Men. Got a great broadcast lineup for you this evening, as I hope and I pray that we always do. I'm not important, just a question asker. My name is Raheem. I'm not important. I'm just a question asker. But I'm hoping that my brothers are still with me here. I'm trying to see where they at.
Aye.
There we go. There we go. We got two of my brothers here, man. We're gonna kick this thing off, man. Real men being men. We're gonna start off with Ryan. Are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, where your video go? There you go. There you go. Now I can see you. Now I can see you. Introduce yourself, brother, and tell everybody who you are and where you're hailing from.
Ryan from Detroit, Michigan.
Good deal. Good deal. And Badger, tell everybody who you are, brother, and where you're hailing from.
Well, that's simple. Badger from Northeast Texas.
Good deal. Good deal.
Or
Good deal.
live in Northeast Texas. I ain't from here.
Now, where you from? Tell
South Carolina.
South Kakalaki. They call it South Kakalaki. Good
Hey,
deal. Good
I'm a
deal.
Cackalack.
There you go. You a Kakalak. You a Kakalak. We a Kakalak. They a Kakalak. Everybody's a Kakalak. Captain Leonard. Good evening, sir. How you doing this evening?
Good evening, Raheem. Good evening, brothers. Real
Good.
men being
What's
men.
up, Vinny?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're about to kick. Well, we already kicked this thing off, and I'm gonna go ahead on and start this thing off. We got four square. We got what we call four square conversation. We got what we call four square conversation. What that means is this: we have four different topics. We're here from 8 o'clock until 10 o'clock. We talk about them for 30 minutes apiece. Now we say four square conversation, but sometimes it becomes three square, sometimes two square, sometimes you only get one square based on how the conversation go and the flow of the conversation. So, in order to kick this thing off, I'm gonna ask Leonard. I'm gonna start off with you, Leonard, and ask you this question right here because I know you about to say something outlandish. You about to say something outlandish. So we're gonna set it. We're gonna set the foundation by you, brother. What is it that you think in your explanation? And we've seen this thing many time and time again. What is it that keeps getting uh the young rappers killed?
Their lifestyle.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember, all they are rappers.
Mm-hmm.
They got lifestyles. Once that lifestyle gets to a point where it got resources, the lifestyle gonna be just become bigger and more hectic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like rap did anything to them or vice versa. It's just that these people who become famous, now everything that they do is in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
They were them people before they was rappers.
Wow. Wow.
So I don't care what you do. A rotten person is a rotten person,
Mm-hmm.
whether they got money or don't got money.
Okay. Okay. Do you think they become victims of the image
No,
that they portray?
no,
You don't
no,
think that has nothing to do with it?
no. That's a bunch of bull. They
Wow.
bring that on themselves by their behavior and who they associate with, just like everybody else.
Well, what do you say to and if that be the case, and I'm not gonna say it is, or if it's not, I don't know. I'm certainly not a rapper. Reynolds rapper is what I am, but a lot of times when they go to them labels, yeah, Ryan, you caught that. When it when they go to them labels give them an image. They say, "I want you to be this. I want you to position yourself like this, and portray this image." Which a lot of times, a lot of them get out the game. They say that's not who I am or who I was, but I had to portray this. I had to become this whole imagery of what they thought I should be. You don't think that has play a part in it?
No,
Wow, wow.
because think about the people who ain't famous.
Mm-hmm.
It's more people who are unfamous doing the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do. Rapping is just what these people are able to do. They're able to rap. They
Mm-hmm.
easily adapt to the rap. Rap is just music.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But your behavior is something else. What you doing when you ain't on that camera is something else.
Mm-hmm.
If you round the same people that everybody else round, if you gang banging and everything like that, that's your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Rapping
Mm-hmm.
ain't got nothing to do with it. You
Wow.
take rap away, they still the same people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now you have some people, it has become popular now because it's easier to get success to just act like you're one thing and you're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy to do. You just become a performer.
Mm.
So, but you have to remember, a lot of these people, they wasn't just performers. They
Mm-hmm.
was in trouble just like everybody else, and they just so happened to be able to rap.
Okay.
Some people took
Let-
rap and the resources and changed their lives with it.
Okay. Your volume is jumping up and down. Is kind of skipping a little bit. Your volume.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's that camera.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. We could hear you, but it's going up and down, and it jumps in, and sometimes you be talking, and it'll get loud. You be like, whoa.
Yeah,
Okay.
but my thing is, rap ain't took good people and made them bad. Bad people started rapping.
Okay. 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 Badger, what do you say to that, man? Why do you think, what is it that's getting a lot of our young rappers killed?
People they be around.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, some of the young rappers that are coming up are trying to go after the old ones, being
Mm,
involved in all kinds of nonsense, drugs, alcohol, partying, wrong kind of people. I mean, it's one of those things,
mm-hmm.
you know. You still, even if you're in that scene, you still make a decision of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And take Snoop Dogg for instance, and
Do they
his
really?
background versus what he's doing today.
Okay, but do they really make that decision, or is it really a choice of them to make the decision to do the things that you're saying right now? Because a lot of times I've heard them it being said that again, it's the imagery. They have to portray a certain image. They could come from the suburban rich family and stuff like that, but all of a sudden when they get to making them record, they got to be like they're the thugs. They're from the hood. They're from the ghetto, if you will. And they have to portray that image. When reality, when they turn the lights off, they go back to their parents' house in the suburbs somewhere, man. It is a big mansion, a lifestyle
So
that they're rapping about that they never lived.
one of the things, at least I learned, was you don't fake it.
Mm,
That's going to get you the wrong kind of attention.
mm-hmm.
Being on the streets and stuff, and you going around pretending to be something you ain't, and they find out, like you pretending to be this big shot or whatever, and ruthless and so on, someone's eventually going to test that theory.
Mm-hmm. I can agree. I can agree.
So it's a choice.
Mm,
Oh, I the amount of people that I have at least been around
Badger, let
in
me
the
say this.
streets.
And I can agree with you when you say it is a choice. They have a choice whether they're going to portray this image or whether they're not going to get signed. That's the way I see it. Because if the industry come along and they say that, look at here, either you're going to portray this image or we're not going to sign you. Either you're going to portray this image or we're not going to sign you. And that's why you have certain rappers that the image that they have to portray is of a thug and stuff like this, and they have no idea about it. You take them to some of the parts of Detroit. Take them to some of them cities in
Hmm.
Detroit, man, and drop their behind off and watch how long they survive or not survive.
Oh, Machine Gun Kelly, right? He
Mm-hmm.
decided to call out Dre and Eminem and things like that, and he don't rap no more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's to me, it's just one of those things. There's enough people in that industry, and they're old school.
Mm-hmm.
They have probably warned these kids coming up, going, if you ain't did it, it's one thing to sing it. Don't be trying to pretend.
Mm.
Singing a song is performing. It's
That's
like
true.
acting.
That's true. But
So
at the
you're acting.
Yeah. Okay. But hold on. Let me do this. 'Cause I want to bring I want to bring Ryan into this conversation. 'Cause I know he got so much to say about this topic right here, man. But my thing is this right here, and I stand on this, and y'all convince me if you can. I think a lot of them guys, man. The choice is either you portray this image that we want to put out there, or we're not gonna sign you, and you could go on back home and do what it is you want to do. But as far as you getting this contract, this is what you're gonna do. Ryan, talk to me, brother.
I agree. Um, I'm sure they are giving a image. I mean, it's acting. That's what it is. I remember coming up listening to certain individuals like Nas and Jay-Z and those guys being called out all the time for going to places like Juilliard, learning how to dance and
Mhm.
write poetry and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was used as a diss on Wax, basically to make them out to be suckers. You know, oh,
Mhm.
you ain't from the hood, you was doing this.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think it was a couple weeks ago. We had 3 guys here in the D that had a show, and they showed up to the show, signed in, and then they disappeared. And they was
Yeah.
found a couple days later, murked in some
Mhm.
apartments. You know,
Mhm.
so you're out there portraying this image like you hard and tough, and you from the streets. And some of these cats are, you know, some of them are like I've heard of billions of stories about 50 Cent and how
Yeah.
he grew up and who he rolled around with. And don't nobody test 50.
Yeah.
You know, somebody will run their mouth, but then they end up quiet after a little while, you know. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um it's about that mouthpiece too. Some of
Mhm.
these cats out there, like the guy down south somewhere, he was running that mouth, and he said, you know, if you want to get at me, you know where to find me. And he was posting this stuff on Facebook, and guess what? Somebody rolled up on him and
Yep.
called his bluff.
And found it.
Yep, it's over
And
with.
yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, it is do this and you can get signed, but at the same time, like Badger said, you got a decision to make. Do you
Mhm.
want to portray that knowing that if you actually came from where you come from, people go remember you and they go call you bluff. You wasn't hard, you wasn't down with this, you wasn't down with
Mhm.
that, and they gonna come see you about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. And so, how do you feel about when I said, Ryan, the choice is either you portray this image that we have for you, and this the industry talking to them. Either you portray this image, or we just not gonna sign you, and that is the choice.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Do you remember Easy? Everybody
Yeah,
remember Easy.
yeah,
So you had Dre and Easy beefing, and they came out with an album, Easy and his clique dissing Dre, and basically calling him a studio rapper.
yeah.
You know, and that's basically what you're saying is, or that's the other end of that conversation is they studio. They get in there, you're gonna act like this, you're gonna say you from here. Yeah, you lived, you know, a couple miles away out in the burbs, but it's close enough. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, Badger, that's a whole different ball of wax right there. When you say Badger said, "What about Christian rap?" That's a whole different ball of wax right there. That's something
What's up, Hicks?
that's something totally different. Mr. Hicks, good evening, sir.
It's
How
the
you doing
rap.
this evening, Mr. Hicks? Can't hear you.
Oh, that's darn speaker keep running from me. I'm doing fine.
I got you. Mr. Hicks, I'm asking a question. I want to hear your heart on this, man. What is it that keeps getting the young rappers killed?
What is it that get him killed? The industry. It's designed for it. And you know what Kanye say? Kanye say that you look at all the records, they're promoting serial killers, black people killing black people. They're promoting it. They
Mm,
making money. They're the culture vultures, and
wow.
they buying right into it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what young and the interesting thing too is even about this young guy, Ja Morant with the pistol
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he had hanging down and other little things going through. It's always the concern about the young folks, the 21 to 23, 21 to 25-year-old young folks. They usually like when they had the draft, they draft you, get you in the military to
Mm-hmm.
get you sort of discipline, get you sort of control because you're dangerous out here. Because that's the generation. Those are the people that don't have a full understanding of what's going on, but can be manipulated
Mm-hmm.
to act stupid.
Wow.
It's,
Wow.
it's the industry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the industry pushes them towards the thug gangster style instead of the intellectual, like Will Smith for a while. They say he was like an intellectual. He was a calm rapper. And they said he wasn't going to sell real good because of the fact that the style that he had, comparison to maybe a Tupac or something like that. Do you think the industry will rather have them act like a Tupac than a Will Smith, Fresh Prince, if you will?
Well, the whole idea, all of everything, music from the very beginning all the way around is about. It's really you hate to admit it, but it's all about control and all about manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when some a little older going back in the holiness kind of thing, they just call that blues music.
Mm-hmm.
That was the devil's music. All that music talking about snapping, talking about sneaking in the back room and all that stuff. It was called devil music. It was pulling people away from the core of what made us strong, survive the oppression.
Mm-hmm.
And even to build as a country on both sides, white and black.
Yeah.
We had no matter how all crazy it was, we always get back and say, like, yeah, doing others as you haven't doing to you. Yeah, don't steal,
Yeah,
don't kill, don't you had some basic things,
mm-hmm.
but the music was always undermining that. The scriptures say that Lucifer was a prince. He was prince in charge of the musicians and music.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's but I think what the industry is doing with the basketball with Ja Morant is just like they did with
Kaepernick.
Kyrie. They're trying to exert their control and keep them young men in control.
Mm-hmm.
They got to keep them. They got to keep their minds locked up. They got too much money. They got too much money to get free.
Mm-hmm. And they have too many resources to help other people.
Well, if they get free,
yeah, exactly.
But they tell people who you could talk with, who you could associate with. That's a lot of things you don't hear. My son, when he finished college, he still hold a record for the most slam dunks in the high school they went to in the net.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm touring around going to talk to those people. But he's Armenian. He was raised a certain kind of way. He grew up off a whole bunch of different kind of thinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he went down. He went to one of the camps in wherever it was. But he looked at it and he said, Abby, I see the game. I said, yeah. He said, I see the game. I don't want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I want money, but I don't want this. I said, that's my son. Because you've got to make agreements. You got to sign a contract. You got to let them control you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give them your mind. You got to show them that you got the right kind of mind before they give you the money.
Mm-hmm.
Before they give you the keys to the kingdom.
Exactly.
You got to bow. You got to bow to him.
Wow. Bow to the king if you want to be a pawn, basically. Rico,
what's going on, man?
Good evening, sir. How you doing this evening?
Man, I can't complain at all, man. How everybody doing?
Hey, doing good. Rico, I want to hear your heart on this, man. What is it that you think is getting a lot of the young rappers killed?
The mouth and the energy.
Mm-hmm.
That energy that they put out there, it's like they inviting it. What they call it, the women call it speaking into it existence.
Yes.
Speaking it, and they speaking it into existence. Yeah. They inviting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they want beef. I had to cuss my son out the other day. You know what I'm saying? I asked him a couple of weeks ago if he wanted to rap. He said, no, I don't want to do that stuff no more. Mm-hmm. Now I look on his Instagram page and he up there talking about some little such and such when he got himself killed, and he talking all that gangster stuff, that drill music stuff. But that's like the second capital of it, Jacksonville, Florida, where they ridiculing young men that live the same lifestyle to get killed and they want to talk about it. And I'm like, man, that's ridiculous. But somehow, whenever something makes money, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about it, they're being rewarded for it, and it's very profitable. And I mean, you think about the psychology behind it. If somebody rewards you or pays you something that really benefits your best interest or gives you that benefits you financially to the point of where you can buy and have access to things that the average person can't have, you're gonna think that it must be okay. Yeah. You're being rewarded. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna conform and give them what they want. It's like a fair trade, labor trade. I work, you pay me. Mm-hmm. Well, they're doing work. They're doing the work that the funeral homes and the prison investors that want them to do. They're doing the work that the insurance companies and the record execs want them to do when they can put insurance out on them because they know they ain't gonna last long with this music. Yeah. We already seen the outcome of that with Tupac and Biggie. Mm-hmm. But if y'all want to make the decision to go ahead and make that little fast money and leave what they call living fast and dying young, you want to live that? Go ahead. Yeah. But all this started with Superfly, man. When in our community, looking like somebody that really rebels against the system and then succeeds and wins, that sounds like the good guy.
Yeah.
And all these rappers that's rebelling against the system. Ja Morant, he want to be a rebel, but he's succeeding by not being a rebel. But he wants to be that. He wants to get that street credibility because those guys right now, the Superflies and the Tony Montanas, all the bad guys that goes against the system and bucks the system, seems like the one that everybody wants to be recognized as having that in them. So, you know, right about now, there's a lot of words that you get disrespected by when you do things honorably or when you have some type of character and integrity. You remember when we were in elementary school, man, and sometimes you had boys that would pick with you and call you lame because you made A's?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And after a while, you would have to fight them boys.
Yep.
And if you couldn't handle your own and them boys got to where they could whoop on you enough, the girls probably going to start talking to that little dumb bully than to talk to you because you can't defend yourself.
You can't protect them.
You know what I'm saying? You can't protect them. I had to do a lot of fighting. I had to do some fighting, you know what I'm saying? Because I thought it was, I remember dumbing myself down in kindergarten to fit in though. I spelled the wrong, I spelled a word wrong on purpose to fit in with the guy that didn't know how to spell. And I felt so bad about it. I felt ridiculous. I was in first grade and I never forgot that feeling of actually doing it and laughing and key-cowing. But in the back of my mind, I felt like a failure. I was like, man, I knew how to spell that word. Why did I do that? But it was to fit in. And so right now, being violent, talking disrespectful, saying I'm telling people they're gonna go to hell if they end up listening to your concert, all this demonic stuff that they're doing, it is being rewarded by a system and an industry that knows that there are people invested in the demise of these people that's going to prison and dying at a young age.
Wow.
Because those numbers are high. But you know, it's some good money in these funeral homes right now, some good money in these prison systems right now. And everybody that's in these or in the ground and listening or in these prison systems, they probably are victims of that culture or that environment.
Wow. 508-924-3521, 508-924-3521. Give us a call. We're asking a question right now, and this is a real man being men. We're here every Tuesday night from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're asking a question. What is it that is getting all the young rappers killed? What is it that is getting all the young rappers killed? Cornelius, good evening, sir. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good this morning.
This evening, Lord Jesus. I'm thinking of morning glow. Yes, sir. You know, man, I'm a busy man over here, brother. Time, days, and everything. Yeah. But what do you think it is, Cornelius? What do you think it is that's getting all these young rappers killed? What is it?
Who was that just got through speaking?
It's Rico.
Rico. Okay. Yeah. I tend to agree along the lines of everything what Rico was saying, because, you know, you look at how our society has been and over the years, and you go all the way back to the 90s and 80s, because of our, what's the word I want to use? Because of how racism has been, the systemic racism, and even dealing with the law. Because you think about NWA. You remember, when NWA came about, and I was kind of caught a tidbit of what their movie was. I know sometimes movies like to embellish things, but for them to have a vindictive attitude, the reason why they came up with that song, F the Police, you know, and different things like that. And like we talked about this before, that song in itself, within the music, a lot of people love music, and music has a certain thing that does something to you. It sparks something inside you, whatever that type of music that you like. And during that time, for me, listening to NWA back in the early to mid 80s, going into the 90s, you had that, listening to that, you felt that way about the Police. Yeah. And I remember when they came up with that song called "Dope Man," and it to the song, it glorified it to that point. And then you look at it in the way crack cocaine was going so heavily back in those days, you wanted to be a part of that. So I say all that to say, coming from that environment, the rap thing, and then you talk about Tupac, Thug Life. You know, all these different things that come up from our systemic, where we've come from, that's part of it.
Yeah.
And what's the old saying? You can take the person out the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out the person. So people will come out that neighborhood, but they still have that mentality. I was just talking to my son about this, and I heard Rico mention John Morant, and I was just telling him that John Morant wants that street cred, but bro, and I heard what Jalen Rose said. And man, I went to elementary with Jalen Rose. I knew Jalen Rose back in the day when I was a kid. I was in the 5th grade. He was in the 4th grade. I didn't know who he was, but he was tall back then. But I remember in an interview what they were saying on ESPN. He was talking to Stephen A. Smith and Mike Wilbon and them guys in the NBA. He was saying that, Ja, you made it. You don't have to be that way. You made it. I was that type of person.
Yeah.
I grew up in the city of Detroit. All of us came from that different area in that era. But you made it, and he got a chance that Stephen A. been talking about it. Man, he got a chance to make over $200-something million within the next year or two. So, but you'll mess around because you want that street cred. You'll mess around and blow your career because these white folks don't care nothing about that. And then you're making we as blacks, we've been climbing up the hill forever and a day. Forever. And we've been fighting. We've been trying to get things going and all this stuff. But man, it ain't like you represent something with integrity. It doesn't make you look bad. Like Rico was just saying, he missed the word just on purpose to fit in. That's what we do when we truly don't have to be that way. We can rise up and be something above and get into the white man's culture and help make a change for something better. But if you want to continue to adapt to the thug mentality, then you will never get to the point of what we're trying to make a change in our society, to get blacks, more intelligent blacks, into the government that knows about the systemic racism, to come from that area to do something about their communities. That's why it's so great when you got guys like LeBron James and Jalen Rose opening up schools to try to help these young black folks and young kids from their communities to come up to be great kids and be great people in our society. So, and even in the rap game, man, all this is connected in some shape, form, or fashion. So that's just my thought on it, man.
Good deal. Mr. Hicks, what's your take on it, brother? What do you think about this thing? And we're gonna stay with this right here for a little bit just a little bit longer, because I only touched everybody one time, and I know somebody may have some responses to something that was said. But what's on your heart to where we are right now in regards to the young rappers killing each other or themselves or whatever the case, dying?
Well, I was thinking about rap. The first, when rap was, when I first heard it, was Last Poets. It was Gil Scott-Heron. It was and it was all consciousness, but it was all consciousness of a negative, I won't say negative, of a leftist tent. I think what we see with the rap game is an evolution of a fighting spirit that was nurtured by the Panthers, that spread out when the Panthers, when that was destroyed through the COINTELPRO, and the money came in, they pumped money into the urban areas for drugs, the drug trades. So the folks that was going to be revolutionary, which was basically get some guns and start some trouble, start some stuff, kind of stuff. We ride, sort of like the BLM stuff we've seen here, which is all part of a strategy. And I say that in this sense here, that that young folks don't understand. They don't know. They have emotion, and they're listening to the forces behind them. The gangs that come from the gang communities, they get inside the music industry, and being in a gang is still important. It's being in gangs is important with a whole lot of people. That's what fraternity orders are. That's what different kind of things. That's what religion is, and that's what. And now is more or less what a political party is. And you know, people don't know this here. People's politics and their political parties are the new religion. That's why I decided I'm not going to ever argue with anybody anymore about that thing, because I just looked at it clearly. I said, look, it's not it's politics to me. And by saying this is politics, that means I know something of the history of what they're trying to do, what they have been trying to do. But it's like a religion.
Wow. Wow. Badger, what's on your heart, brother? And why do you think certain elements of rap music is pushed more than others? If you got the kill the police and all the kind of rap like that, or this violent rap, you know, it gets a lot of spins. But if you got a rap where they're trying to uplift the people, they get a lot of times no airplay at all. Why do you think that is, Badger?
It's a narrative. It's always been a narrative. I talk about this all the time. They don't want us to get along, and they will use whatever means necessary to indoctrinate our younger generation to think a certain way. And we, as the parents, the grandparents, and so on, are the ones that need to be responsible for what we introduce to them. A 5-year-old kid should not be listening to certain songs, or you watching certain shows or whatever. Even though I'm a gamer, I quit gaming a lot of games when my kids were little because I didn't even want them introduced to it.
Yeah.
So, and you know, they're 10 and 8 now, and there's still some things I just don't play. It doesn't get listened to. If I want to listen to it, I have a headset and I go outside, so only I can hear it.
That's good.
So, with that in mind, these people do have a choice.
See,
to a degree.
Okay, I can go with that to a degree. Okay, go ahead.
Because, like, if you've been keeping track of anything Snoop Dogg's been doing, he's literally bought his I'm trying to remember what studio that was.
That one Suge Knight's thing.
Death Row.
Death Row. Yeah, Death Row.
He didn't just buy the record company; he bought the rights too.
Masters and everything. Yeah.
So, guess what? Are you telling me that he's not bringing in rappers? And he ain't teaching people? He's got a kids show out too.
Okay.
So, like, there are those that attempt.
Is he e pluribus unum?
Do what?
Is he e pluribus unum?
I don't know what that means.
That's Latin, one of many.
Out of many comes
exactly.
One. I know others are doing it too, though. That's the thing. He ain't the only one.
Wow.
A lot of them have come out on these different podcasts and all kinds of things talking about how corrupt the system is, and that they're working on making their own studios and all kinds of stuff to get away from all that.
Okay.
So the opportunities are changing.
Wow. Okay. I mean, that's I don't see it, but you know, if that's what you see, maybe me and you need to get on after the broadcast, maybe tomorrow sometime. Ain't gonna be tonight, and talk more about this right here, because I don't see that, man. And I pray that you're right. But Rico, why do you think certain elements of rap get more push than the positive rap, if you will?
Because that's the intention of the people that's invested on the outcome. Once you find a way to capitalize or monetize something, then you can start making sense out of it. Look at Bitcoin, or look at, people going viral. They found a way to make that profitable. And now all of a sudden, now people want to go viral doing stuff that's like self-deprecating. Just to get paid, because somebody said, okay, you know what? You got a lot of views. We're going to pay you. Oh, you're going to pay me to make a fool out myself? Well, let me go see if I can go walk up some crates.
Or eat typos.
So it's profitable. It's a profit at the end of each rainbow. That profit can be in that funeral home investment. That profit can be in the judicial system, with grants from the government throughout the state. That it can be in I mean, man, attorneys' fees, insurance companies. So many people benefit from the downfall of that environment or that culture. If it wasn't a benefit to it, then it wouldn't be rewarded. It wouldn't be allowed. You know, I mean, if you think about entertainment, well, somebody corrupted the thought process of entertainment. Like, it's one thing to be entertained by laughter. It's one thing to be entertained by sadness. It's one thing to be entertained by just pure learning and knowledge. But then to be entertained by violence, to find entertainment out of making jokes out of some woman's son that got killed at 15 and they didn't even have anything to do with it, and then have other rappers that don't even know his name saying smoking on Tuka. People that they don't even know this was an innocent little boy that wasn't even in that gang stuff. They promoting gang violence. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he said it, man. He hit it on the head. Somebody found a way to keep corrupting the system, just like with COINTELPRO. They keep finding a way to corrupt the system that really and truly has, you know, it has good intentions, but somebody finds a way to manipulate it to profit their agenda, a certain agenda that might target a certain people or to actually accomplish a certain goal. And it's working. You know, you look at the prison system right now and look at the numbers of us in there. And then go back and look at the penal system from 1920 up until now and see how the numbers adjusted. And I watched this adjustment myself, man. I mean, Cornelius, man, he said something huge, man, because NWA and Eazy-E, they changed my life.
Wow.
They corrupted me, man. Now with that, when they had that F the police, that was right up my alley. But that dope man, once it started sounding entertaining, it started sounding a little bit more acceptable and a little bit more intriguing. And then I wanted to find out more and more, what is this strawberry that they're talking about? My imagination started going along thinking about what they were talking about. And before you know it, the dope man was the new version of Superfly. Because they told you what kind of money he made and how he had it good in the hood. Well, that's the hood I was in.
Wow.
Sounded like a way out. So, I mean, that influence, man, even though you got choices, influence is huge, man, especially when you're in a community where you can be counseled, an outcast, because you aren't the rebel or the thug or the roughneck. And that's what the women wanted at one time. They had to have a roughneck. You couldn't be a roughneck walking around here with your pants, your shirt and your pants, and your pants pulled up and buttoned up. You know, they made a joke about that. What Ice Cube said on his song. So, I mean, you know, these people are double agents. We could bring up the Snoop Dogs, but really and truly, as long as they're getting paid by the system that created those conditions, they're going to speak on both sides. T.I. is doing it. Snoop Dogg is doing it. 1 minute they're promoting something positive or standing up for some social agenda. And then just as soon as they start off with something positive, they go right back into something negative and start telling you that the trap museum or the trap music should be a very part of our Black history.
Wow. So keep this thing going. And Mr. Hicks, I'm coming to you. I want to touch a few more people, but I'm definitely gonna circle my way back to you. Leonard, what's on your heart, brother? What are you getting from this, man? Are you in agreement or are we off course? What do you think?
I'm not getting nothing from it because I don't want nothing from it. If people do what people do, you act like wasn't nobody. See, this is bothers me.
What bothers you, brother? What bothers you?
Like,
Tell me what bothers you.
Like wasn't nothing going on before rap. There are lots of rappers out here that have come and gone. You can't sell stuff people don't want. So if you start wanting it, they can't sell it. That's why they usually I know more people that are dead because of the stuff that they've done than any record ever played on a freaking radio. My friends ain't dead because somebody came out with a record. My friends is dead because of how they chose to live each and every day. And it had nothing to do with no records.
Now, do you think, hold on, stay right there for a second. Now, do you think the record or the music could have an impact on the way that they lived? or the way that they live? Because you said they're going now, but do you think it could have an impact on it?
It goes with it. It's part
Okay.
of it. I've
Mhm.
seen art just as crazy. Every genre, every group of artists that try to speak on something. When you talk about the last poets, you need to talk about who those people were. That's why they produced what they produced, because they were those people that were on that civil rights, black nationalism forefront. That's what who they were. That's what they were about.
Mhm.
I wouldn't expect them to be singing gospel music
Mhm.
because that wasn't their thing.
Mhm.
And
But my question is, do you think the music and what's being put out there and what's being portrayed could have an impact, be it positive and or negative?
I think it is what it is. It's all propaganda. It's all marketable. It's all responding to the demand for it. If I see where I can go and make some records and make some money, I'm gonna go do that. But one, you sitting up here want to act like it's just rappers. I know preachers that sell dope.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not gonna act like it's just these people that is responsible for all the wickedness in our community.
But see, that's a whole other conversation, because there's a lot of different elements to this thing. But what we talked about, what we're concentrating right now is the rap music. Let's deal with that part. And
what rap music?
The rap music that's causing a negative impact on and around our communities. And
right.
The rap music the NBA Youngboy said he was gonna stop making.
NBA Youngboy.
The rap music the NBA Youngboy, one of those rappers that they call the next Tupac. They say he's gonna be the next big rapper. He's the next big thing. And he did a little small documentary about 2 weeks ago, saying that he was gonna change his music because he realized the negative impact he was having on people. And he didn't realize that he was having that type of a negative impact, and that he was responsible for it. So now this is the artist. This is not you. This is the artist saying, look, I realized that I got this type of power to get people to do good and inspire themselves to be better than or to do bad. I realize now that people do cry when they hear my music, because it's something about the words of these songs that really touches the power, that this mystical power that everybody says it has is real. And let me stop doing
That's
this.
His personal choice. I could care less what he does. If he believes that he is responsible for what's going on, that's his burden.
Can I squeeze in, please?
Yeah,
please.
It doesn't matter.
You
to
next,
me.
Mr. Hicks.
I mean,
I'm gonna jump up in here. I'm gonna be revolutionary.
I've seen a lot of people do a lot.
I know, but I'm serious. I'm warning you. I'm telling you.
Than rap.
Mm-hmm.
I wish rap was the biggest problem in the world. I really wish it was, because then we could just censor everybody and get rid of it.
Wow.
There's a lot of people who have said a lot of things that have been just as filthy as you ever heard on any rap record.
Okay.
Matter of fact,
again, Leonard, and you have a point there. I can agree with what you're saying. There is some filthy things out there. I totally agree with that. But what we're concentrating on this part of the conversation on this square right here is the rap music and its impact. Now, we can talk about all the other things and we certainly will. We're gonna talk about everything. We talk about everything on here. This is real men being men. That's what we do. But let's concentrate on the rap music.
Like I said, okay, I don't have a big opinion of it that way. Mm-hmm. Rap music is just music to me. I mean, you can listen to it if you want to. That's your business. I mean, I can't say you're going to learn a whole lot. Mm-hmm. I can't say it's of any benefit to you at all. But if that's what you choose to consume, just like smoking cigarettes, smoke them till you die, for all I care.
Good deal. Mr. Hicks, go ahead. Ryan, coming to you next, brother.
Okay. I just want to say one basic thing. Is, Nazi Germany and Russian Bolshevik, that whole revolution, all that stuff happened. The history, they showed this here. The guy that put their whole propaganda thing was a relative of the guy who wrote that whole. Get complicated. Point is, if you put a message out there, repeat it over and over and over and over again to people, even if it's a lie, they'll believe it. So it's not a matter that this is demand, that people are demanding this thing. This is a demand that's generated by subliminal seduction. Subliminally, they're seducing these kids. That's the idea. The children are the future. Bottom line, That's the whole thing with what's happening out at the school, why it's so important, because that's the future. You program those kids now between 1 and 7 and 9, they're programmed for life. It's very hard. It's been a very difficult part perhaps for me to reprogram myself. It took a miracle. It took a creator, because I was damaged and wounded. Our children are damaged by the time they're 7 by the things they hear, the things they see, the music on television, Walt Disney, all the cartoons, all the kind of subtle ways. But the whole idea, to bring it down to how I see it, this is a war that we were born into between good and evil. Bottom line, there's an evil force that's ruling this world. I see it like this here, and they call it demon possession, all that thing. They talk about it in a lot of shamans and in different cultures. The shamans talk about these disembodied spirits that are around people, and they're moving off energy and vibration. People are vibrating. They don't get anybody. You got to be at the vibration frequency, and they latch on to you. They latch on to you. They take over you, and then they make you do things. Sometimes the kind of crimes we hear about, you got to admit, it don't make no sense. What would make somebody do something like that? It don't make sense. It's my belief, because I've been under the grips of these things before. And when I had to look after I had done something, after I did a thing, and recognize I was like unconscious when I was doing it. I thought about it in my mind. When I came to myself, I was doing it. It had made me do it and left me out there hanging. Then I was scared. I didn't have all the strength I went into it with. The power and force that it had faked me, that told me that I was a god, that I hold life and death in this hand, of this power I had in my hand. That I was God. I decided who live, who die, who shut up, who sit down, who stand still. And that was all cultivated by a world that I saw how that worked. That worked for people, that worked for the gangs, that worked for the cops. And they produce inside of folks, and with these kids, a disrespect for authority, period. And you got to have it. At some point, you got to get it. When I talk about prison saved me, that's what the point it saved me. It wasn't mean like love authority, but respect it. Find the correct way to challenge it. But then you got to grow up. You got to get beyond you got to live beyond. That's why you see even these rappers now, he's talking about, Rico's talking about Young Boy. If Tupac would have turned the corner, if a lot of these guys got older out of their youth to get to the place to where they was headed to, they killed them before they get there.
Wow. Ryan?
Yeah, man. Tupac was deep. And I firmly believe the reason he dead, not because of the type of music he did, but because of his background. So it's like he was involved in Panthers and stuff like that. Family members involved in Panthers, right? And I had read some things when he was locked up, because that was my dude, like all day, because I could totally relate to a lot of things, even though, obviously I'm a white guy, but I could relate to a lot of things.
You're not. No, you're not. Go ahead.
I could relate to a lot of things he was saying. And when he was locked up in the pen, he had amassed such a following, not just because of his music, but he had a political following. And it was written that he at some point was gonna go and create his own section in the government, and he had the Panthers backing him up. He had gangs backing him up. He had regular citizens backing him up, because his music was all about thug life. But if you really digged into his stuff, he was preaching life a lot of the times, trying to teach people how to come out of struggles and different things. But you really had to dig into it. It wasn't surface level stuff, right? And it's like you're saying, music has an effect on your mind. And if you just take it at surface value, certain things, then you're missing the whole picture. There's tribal music that I listen to that's culture based, and it's getting a little away from rap, but it's proving the point about the music. And they purposefully make this music a certain way to put you in a trance-like state in your mind. They do it on purpose, and they tell you they do it that way when you read the biographies and things, because it puts you in a certain place. It puts you in a certain mindset. So if they can do that just with chants and musical instruments and things like that, and that type of music, what makes you think that you can't get affected by street music? And you see these guys all the time now. Like, I've seen rap progress in the negative so much over the years. Like, I started with KRS-One. Like, that was my first hip hop artist.
Yeah.
Heavy D and the Boys. Like, that early 80s, late 70s stuff. And like, that music had a message to it. Yeah, we struggling, but we can come out of this. There's a lot of things, like KRS-One used to talk about it all the time. Yeah, I could have run the streets with my dudes, but they pushed me to the side, said, no, you got a gift. You stay over here.
Yeah.
And now that man's doing what? He's teaching classes across the world about unifying through hip hop. But he's not talking about killing people and stuff like that. And most of his audience is a mixed race. So, like, he had a positive impact, right? But as it went along, it progressively got worse. You went from positivity to negativity to killing, thug life. Then it went into drugs, cash money, cash money, hoes. And then we go to that mumble rap. Can't even understand it because they so messed up on whatever they taking, because they're in that mindset where they got to be popping pills, got to be snorting that yay, got to be taking that ecstasy. And now we in the drill music. What's next? And dudes like Pac predicted this stuff. He said, you watch. Eventually, it's going to come a time where you're not even going to understand what somebody on the microphone is saying. We don't need that. We need to stay over here on this lane. And I think, personally, I'm going to end it with this, that it's programming, right?
Wow.
Especially for the Black community, they got this music out here that attracts, because it's where most individuals start out, right? In that negative, oppressed ghetto community, if you want to call it that. And they target you with this music, and they suck you in, and they trick you into thinking money and drugs and alcohol and guns is the way. And then they keep feeding it and feeding it and feeding it and dumbing people down, because when you listen to this new stuff, you're not getting smart. There's no positivity to it. You're getting stupid. And people buy into it. And then the rest is history. Look at these kids out here. Stupid.
Wow. And see, there's so many different layers to this thing, man. There's so many different layers to this. And I really want to get to, I have 4 squares. This is the first square. And I really want to move on to one of the other squares, but it's so hard right now because there's so many different things that we have not touched on. Let me go to Cornelius, because I don't know how much time I have left with Cornelius. I know he's at work. What's on your heart, brother?
I got two ways I can go with this, but I'm struggling right now, because I wasn't trying to go spiritual. I'm just trying to stay natural with this thing, but I think I am. But I'm gonna start off with this. On the natural side, in the rap game, from what I've seen over the years, and also dealing with Tupac and so on and so forth, I look at influences. In our society today, we got so many different influences in life, whether it's bad, good, or indifferent. We got influences. And in that, you deal with racism, you deal with prejudice, you deal with the environment that you come from, the influence of what the environment that you come from. Because a lot of the rap game is coming, if you look at it, back in the day, I used to, me personally, I don't listen to rap no more because now that I've accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, I stepped away. Even though I like what the like our brother Rashid, use that gift of rap to rap gospel.
Yes.
And so on and so forth. You got so many different guys out here that's rapping, that had to rap, and I know you know a lot of the guys too, Raheem, and that's still rapping the rap game, but they rapping Jesus. And I love how God uses them in that aspect. And the thing is that the influences in our lives that we deal with in our society, the devil got a foothold in a lot of this stuff. My man talked about energy level and all these different things. And you know that we are tri-beings with spirit, soul, and body. And where our spirit is where the conscious lies. And a lot of these things that attack our mind, when it operates through the mind, it enters the soul. And when it gets to the soul, which is the deep inner part of the man, which is basically who we are, once it go there, the body can't do nothing but follow. So whatever attacks the mind and gets into the soul, you're going to react to whatever that situation is. Like I was talking about, my mother always taught me to respect authority. So when I come up, when I see the police, I respect them, talk to them, and different things like that. But then when I'm coming up in the city of Detroit and I hear that song "F the Police," now it got in my spirit and got down in my soul. So now every time I ride past the police, I'm grimming them like I want to start something with them. You know what I'm saying? Little stuff like that. But back in the day when you talk about Run DMC and all them guys, and you know, I love that music. You know, I used to love to listen to those guys and the Fat Boys and all that. You know, and then the Fat Boys made it look like it felt good to be fat. You know, heavy set. You know, but people didn't like that. You know, you got all these different Curtis Blow, all those guys, man. And you listen, but now the rap game, I'm not trying to talk nothing down against people, but sometimes think about that. You get a lot of guys that come up, where did it come from to where they start abusing women? They talk about women, talk down to women, and they rap songs. Put them down, degrade them, make them sound bad, and then you run, and then a guy into that, and I hear guys bumping the music right now today. I go to Kroger's or I go to Walmart, I hear dude bumping a song talking about F that B and da. So where your respect is for women, the women that can bring in children, you know, all these different things that influence a person. That, and then you got good rap, like I love what Tupac wrote. What was that song, Dear Mama? Yeah, that was a powerful song. You know, the influence on how to respect your mother for who she is. You know, different things like that. So you got so many different things like that. But then you got people out here that will literally, if you talking about rapping in a song, screw a woman, forget that, calling her BITH, CJH, and all this stuff. And then you got football players and guys out here shooting women. I know you heard about that, the Alabama player that shot the girl. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. It's so many different things out here that people that's dealing with demonic forces that operate through the mind that will use them to attack and put down people and take folks out, man. It's so much stuff there. It's a lot of layers, like you said. I can go further, but I know we got to get other people in, man. But it's deep, man. It's deep.
It's very deep, very deep. Badger, what's on your heart, brother? Talk to me. I see you over there, Rico. I see you, brother. Badger?
Well, I was sitting here and I was just thinking. I find conversations like this quite interesting, looking at it from like one perspective, right? Because as you well know me, I look at things in multifacets. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to him talking about like some of the lyrics that's in some of these songs and stuff. And it's hard for me to separate the lyrics of those songs before I ever listened to a single rap song. You know, I grew up on old Metallica and Guns N' Roses and Charlie Daniels and George Jones and Charlie Pride and all them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know what rap music was until I was in high school. It just was not played anywhere around me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I remember being told what a woman's role was. I remember being told a lot of toxic things.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't come from music. However, when I did start listening, I heard the same things in those songs that those people were talking about. And it drove my curiosity to want to learn more of what drives it. What part of the money drives it? Like, I remember hearing the difference of the rap songs that were talking about life, and then during the 90s. Because when I got into rap, I liked a lot of the older stuff. And I wasn't really big on Tupac and things like that. That was just too hard for me
Mm-hmm.
at the time. But as I
Let me ask you
went
this question.
through,
Do
yeah,
you think rap when rap started, and Rico put a very good point in the chat about how it started and where it started from. But do you think rap changed its tone, if you would, not necessarily its tone, but its effect on the community once it moved outside of
you
our
beat me to
community?
it.
Once it
You
moved
beat me
outside of
to it.
our community and moved outside of our community and started being as widespread as it is, do you think that made a difference?
I think it did. But in a really weird way.
Mm-hmm.
I started seeing how this, I don't even know what genre it was back then, but like Black Eyed Peas, that whole genre.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that was. I forgot the thong song and all that junk.
Yeah.
I hated those songs. And then after
Why
a
you
few
hate
years,
Cisco, man? What's Cisco do to you, man? Go ahead, though. Go ahead.
I'm not into that kind of junk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't like how it talked about women. That's just my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and but I remember everyone listening to it, and I'd get picked on, and I didn't fall for their peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And but I noticed how like rap music started to change.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing about the life struggles of them surviving the gunshots and all that kind of stuff, like what I would call gangster rap. You know, the real stuff, the stuff of people that have actually experienced it, singing about it, about life, being on the streets, their story.
Mm-hmm.
To I don't know what to call it anymore. I don't even call it rap anymore.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It doesn't sound the same. It sounds like everyone's on repeat of
Okay,
the
but
same thing.
Badge, we got to move on. But I want to ask you this question. Give me your quick answer to this. Why do you think once it went quote unquote mainstream outside of our community into the atmosphere, why do you think there was a change?
You honest?
Yes. No, lie to me.
Because around that same time, do you remember kids being told to call CPS on their kids if you spank them?
Mm.
Do you remember all that stuff? And they started taking God out of the certain things out of school, certain contexts out of school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your parents shouldn't be spanking you or any kind of hard discipline because that's bad, wrong, evil. And then all of a sudden, this music started to progress in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Coincidence?
Okay. Wow. Stay right there, Brother Pete. I was going to say good morning again. Good evening, sir. How you doing this evening?
Good evening.
Hey, doing good. Pete, I need to ask you a question, brother. I want to hear your heart on this, man. What is it that is getting all of our young rappers killed? What is it about that our young rappers are dying? What is it that's killing them?
Why are our young rappers dying?
Yes, getting killed and all kind of different things. Why? At such a young age.
Well, they're
Tupac.
living hard and fast, and the image of being a tough guy, street commando, you know, a guy with resources in the street, having your hand and things that are perpetrated, portrayed as being cool, acceptable on a street level. They're actually trying to keep their hands with their image related to that, and the reality is coming back to fight. It's coming back to fight. Some are living it for real, and some may be just portraying the image, but you know, the reality of that imagery is becoming real. So then you see the breakout from what you're portraying. Now, don't get me wrong, we still have some that actually live like that for real, okay? But a great majority of them, they don't live like that. They're not street commandos. They're not gangsters and gang killers and stuff like that. It's the image that they're putting up. But then you're going to run into a challenge, and it's going to turn very for real and serious.
Wow. Now, this image that we're speaking of, is that an image that they wanted to do, or is that something that the industry pushed or forced on them?
Individuals have their, individual opinions, perspectives, and objectives, motivation. Certainly, the industry itself is purported and seems to greatly encourage debauchery and, the devilment, the negative side, the lower side, the central side, if you would, of living and the gutter mentality. They push that very heavily. And I think it's a great influence. And we certainly can say that it is. If you look at original hip hop, you go back to James Brown and how James Brown was rapping, really. He's singing, but he's doing some rapping too. If you listen, King Heroin, he's rapping, right? Black and I'm Proud. It was positive, though. It was informative, uplifting, right? Then when you come into the 70s, hip hop really started taking out middle 70s, late 70s, early 80s, and it was all positive and informative. They would talk about things from the street, talk about their everyday reality, but they didn't overly emphasize or glorify the negativity. And then we moved into the gangster rap era, and the youth at that time were being enlightened. They were being educated. They called it edutainment.
Wow.
They were actually informing you of your history, your heritage, your culture, the true existence, formation of this society. Many of us never have heard of the Geechee Gullah Wars. They called it the Indian Wars. They tried to hide it as the Indian Wars. Many of us never heard of that, never realized that's what brought about the end of chattel slavery. For real, factually true. But who heard of that? It erased basically some history. You had to search out, know about it, or search it out just to interpret it. Okay? Telling us that we were beat down people who were just servants and slaves, and we just were submissive and went along with it. And then you come to find out that wasn't the truth at all. But hip hop was the one that was exposing it to all of the youth. It was exposing it to everybody. So they say we got to become politically and socially aware and ethnically aware, and we have to divert that. So here come the Achilles and the drugs and the B's and the H's and, the credit cards sliding through the booty cheeks and all this type of stuff. And we seem to have got stuck there, and that mentality, that influence has blossomed and is peaking at its full potential. So now we see individuals in that industry portraying and attempting to live out the reality of the imagery.
Wow.
And then here comes your death, and here comes your destruction.
Good deal. Hold on, preacher. We got to pull some more people in here. Hold on for a second, man. It's a lot. It's a lot going on with this particular topic right here, man. And we actually gonna have probably will be, instead of 4 square conversation, will be 1 square conversation tonight, and we'll pick up the other 3 with another one next week. But Ryan, talk to me, brother. What's on your heart? Rico, coming to you next, brother. If you could come out back on the screen with us.
Let me see. What about this? What y'all know about this right here? You ever see that or heard that? Body count. Oh, I lost my mic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't see what you're showing me something.
We can't hear the music.
I wasn't playing no music. It was just a picture.
Okay.
I ain't gonna play that on the air. You got.
We can't see the picture either.
Well, it may not show up. I still have the physical. I don't
Hold
know
on.
if
I think what you did, you put it right here. I think you put it. No, I don't. We don't see it.
You see that?
Yeah.
Did anybody remember that album, Body Count, Ice-T?
Yeah.
When that came out, that was some crazy stuff, right? It got banned for a long time. It got banned, and now you just go ahead, log into your Spotify, and there you go. You got it. And I mean, it's just going back into the patterns of this music, and yeah, man, like subliminal messaging is part of it, right? I'm gonna let Rico take it where he want to go, but that's where I'm going. Like, I've heard so many things and read so many documents, and this kind of go back to what I was saying before. Like, it was a government op. I've read.
Yeah.
And if you remember, we lost Biggie, we lost Pac, we lost Left Eye, Aaliyah. It was one other. Pimp C. All 5 of them died. And what do they all have in common? Each one of them came from one of the biggest labels in the industry. And I had read some documents on some obscure places where I get some pretty low key information from back in the day before they started all of this algorithm blocking and stuff like that, where you could just get free information. And it was a government op, where they had, and you may still be able to find it out there, where the feds raided all 5 of those places. And they told them, you're going to make this music like this, or we're going to shut you down. And if you choose to stay in the game, you're going to have to sacrifice your top artist. And look what happened. All 5 of them lost somebody, right? So it's crazy, like you've been saying, Raheem, the power that these labels have. But look what it did to, like, Dame Dash. He was like, you know what? I'm not with it no more. Here you go, Jay. You can have it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not doing this no more. And I remember listening to a specific verse in a rhyme where they was talking about if you know the brother, his name Freeway. And he put out a verse, and he said, Aaliyah died, and he said, Jay cried, or Jay shed a tear, Dame cried. Like, and it put it in this perspective. If you really into the music, Jay didn't give a rip about her, but it messed Dame up so bad he had to get out the game. And I mean, it's powers in there. It's powers at play. And these guys put on this front, like Jay put on this big front, run out here with the money, doing this. But at the same time, he in control of this label now, where they done made a sacrifice to keep their money. So what kind of position is he really in? What kind of thing is he really putting out there to the community? Is he really supporting some folks? No, man, I think it's fake as hell. Excuse my language. It makes me mad. It makes me mad. Like,
okay, well, look here. I want you to be mad in that corner over there. Go on over there. You bad as you want to, but you're gonna be mad in that corner. Go on.
It's in the Bible. It's in the
It's an
Bible.
emotional subject.
Oh Lord, here we go. Rico,
It's
go
in the
ahead.
Bible.
Oh, Lord, he didn't mean it that way. He didn't mean it like that. But it's all in the interpretation. Rico, what's on your heart, brother?
See, man, you said you asked a question earlier, man, and you asked why or how, you know, because a lot of people are wondering how did this energy go to, how did it get in this direction?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know if people remember or not, but can y'all remember when hip hop wasn't really mainstream, when they couldn't even get recognized at the awards, when they was fighting to even get an award for a Grammy or American Music Award, they didn't even have a category.
Exactly.
They weren't even acknowledged.
Yeah.
And you remember how pure and innocent and how much hip hop did seem like entertainment, even in our poverty and our despair.
Yeah.
We talked about what the Sugar Hill Gang talked about.
Yeah.
And people said, oh man, we don't want to hear that boomity boom and that jungle music. I mean, I heard all the different type of words that they used about our music, our new culture music.
Yeah.
But for some reason, just like religion and anything else that black people come up with, you can't stop something that's got a motivation and a power and a momentum behind it. And we had something that was deep down pure, that we a culture, a trend that we created that was so pure that it wasn't about money, because they weren't rich. It wasn't about fame or celebrity, because they were only famous in our community.
Yeah.
It wasn't about power, because they didn't have no power. They didn't even get respected or recognized as artists. They were just street rappers, rhymers, and street poets. They didn't ever, they couldn't even have a category. Now they done went from having a category to being the main award at the Grammys. Somebody said if you can't beat them, join them.
Wow.
And so and Run DMC made that happen, because Run DMC didn't even have no respect. So they did the smart thing. They got with Aerosmith and said, walk this way. And everybody said, well, okay, now we got a way to start liking hip hop. Because there was a lot of white people did like hip hop, but it was hard for them to accept it because they might get criticized. I went from a majority black school to a majority white school. And you wouldn't believe the amount of white boys that was shamed that the other white boys would know that they liked certain things that was black. They want to learn to dance. You had a few of them that went against the grain and they break dance. They break dance better than us. They go to the talent show. They be the only white person now. They didn't care what nobody said. They was all hip hop. It was like Eminem divided by 10 million. You know what I'm saying? Because what you see now is a hip hop world. You see a hip hop religion. Hip hop is worldwide. And for it to become worldwide, somebody had to make it go worldwide, because it didn't go down its own. It went down its own, but somebody jumped on board and said, well, you know what? We'll invite y'all to the party. Since we see y'all gonna keep on making this music, and for some reason these guys are making a lot of money selling albums out the back of their trunks. Somehow they making some money, but if they only really knew, based off of our algorithms, if they had our promotion and marketing and studio and equipment and all that behind them, this thing would take off. They said, well, let's shoot Vanilla Ice in here and see what we can make happen. Let's shoot Third Base in here and see what happens. Third Base said, well, we're going to act right. Let's shoot the Beastie Boys off in here, Rick Rubin. Beastie Boys said, well, you know what, man? I think this is a little bit too street and a raw right now. I don't think we're ready to get in here yet.
Wow.
And then NWA came out, and they still had a good message. And they had some support and that momentum when Rodney King took that beating. Oh, my God. They won a lot of fans then, because now everybody see what we talking about. This out here in California might not be going on in Atlanta. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Shh, don't say nothing. Might not be going on in New Orleans. Oh, yeah, we got it going on down here too. But shh, don't say nothing. Now everybody's seeing them boys out there in California. They bucking like the Black Panthers. If y'all ever get a chance, watch the documentary, The Bastards of the Party. And it will show you how gangs got started. But to give you a shortcut of it, it was started from the motivation and the motivation and the momentum of the Black Panthers. Most of those guys in those gangs that started the Bloods and the Crips, they were children and grandchildren of that movement that got infiltrated by COINTELPRO. And they were just left out here wandering aimlessly, trying to organize and still do the same thing in the community. But they got manipulated when the system got involved and said, well, okay, y'all could be mainstream now. We'll give y'all an award and we can make y'all money. Look at right now, the rappers that we talking about are all full of garbage. They're way richer than Curtis Blow. They're way richer than Melly Mel. They're way richer than the first people that really got this thing going. They're way richer than Run DMC.
Exactly.
But look what they're talking about. So that's what's being rewarded. At one time, you couldn't even get on the Grammys.
Leonard, what's on your heart, brother?
You know, just listening to everybody's perspective on the issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess it's because it's just my background is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you're really talking about to me is idolatry. Now, if you were into idolatry, I could see where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing outside of me can control what's inside of me. So it does not matter I don't care what another person says. On a rap record, on a gospel record, it's their record. If I feel it, I feel it. If I like it, I like it. But I don't worship it. Because that is pure wickedness to do that. I mean, come on, how many I ain't never seen nobody what am I going to say? Is there an excuse for every wicked thing that you decide to do other than yourself? You have to volunteer for that. It's almost as if you all can't not listen to it. Why can't you not listen to it? Why can't you choose not to allow it to do what it does?
Even if that be the case, even if that be the case, and each one of us, we can make a vow right now that we're never going to listen to it again. But we still, that it's still going to have an impact because of the people that's around us.
I was raised on greater is he that is within me than he was in the world. So I can understand why, if you are not strong enough,
has nothing to do with strength. No, I say
well, I don't understand what else it is.
Yes, it does.
I said
yes, it does.
Okay, but
yes,
what I'm talking about,
what I'm talking about, sound like you couldn't help yourself.
Okay, but listen, what I'm talking about is this. I say even if we make a pact right now and decide, excuse me, that we're never going to listen to it again, it will still have an influence because of the fact I have grandkids. My daughters are grown now, and you know they live their life, they're grown, but I still have grandkids that I have to be mindful. I have to be mindful what they're being fed and what they're digesting. And so if I'm not this, I can't just put them out there into the wilderness and say fend for yourself.
Well, you can be a good parent.
But there's also because they may not be strong to fend it off. That's the reason why, because they might not be stronger. So it does have to do with strength. Like
I was taught right from wrong. It does not matter what color it is, what type of music it is, wherever it comes from. It does not matter. I have never been under the influence this way because I am always the guilty party because of what I choose to do. I can't blame my sins on Ice Cube. I'm the wicked one. It's almost like there's some people that had the same argument as if some people would not be wicked had it not been for some other people like them. Who keeping you divided? Why you don't want to be with one another?
You know, we talked about this a couple of times, and I understand what you're saying, but we talked about this a few times on I think on the Morning Glow actually, about the impact that music have on you. If a person want to go do a certain thing, whatever it is they want to do, there's a certain music that they will play that will put them in that mindset, that mood, and that mindset. So music does have
music that has a great impact as well. Just as great. But
if somebody have a mindset to go out there and they want to go out there and kill somebody, I don't think they're gonna listen to gospel music
because they're wicked.
That could be very true.
In them,
that could be very true. But what I'm speaking of is the influence. But what I'm speaking of is the influence, though, that music has. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that you're wrong at all. But I think we're talking about two different angles. I'm talking about the influence that music has, because if somebody, like I said, want to go out there and kill somebody or hurt somebody or whatever, they're not gonna listen to no Kirk Franklin, Marvin Sapp, or nothing like that. Man, they're not gonna listen to that. They're gonna listen to some. that puts them in a
Hey,
certain
Raheem.
mood and a certain mindset to go out there and do whatever it is
Ask the girl that got the number one
come to you,
record
Rico.
that sings one of the greatest gospel songs. That girl, an alcoholic.
Wow.
See, I think what it is we have to understand is or maybe Leonard has to understand is that these things don't influence Leonard like they do the average person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because we do have to admit that sometimes we might see a woman and get in the mood with that woman, and the mood set the tone, and before you know it, we going to have on a baby. That's why people make love music. Some people go to church and listen to the right gospel song, and that person let them lungs blow good enough, and before you know it, they shouting and catching the Holy Ghost. Leonard might not shout. Leonard might not cry at funerals. Leonard might not hear a song at a funeral and it touch him because that song relates to his memories and influences him to shed tears about this loss, this one that he lost. But these emotions are the same emotions that are being touched by. So what we're trying to do is still, even though it doesn't affect you, you have to acknowledge that it does have that type of impact if you aren't strong enough to fight those demons and those temptations, that energy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, true enough, it is your fault for making that choice. But it's a lot of things I probably wouldn't have indulged in had I not been influenced to see that, you know what? This is beneficial. This makes me feel good. This gives me my way. I mean, I wouldn't even turn on, man. It's a lot of stuff I wouldn't turn on to until society let me know it's acceptable. Before then, I was told a lot of things were wrong. Right now, we find it cool for women to take the clothes off for money. But deep down inside, we know that is unacceptable. So I mean, people can be weak for certain things, and then some people can find things acceptable that make them feel good that they don't want to accept that is unacceptable. But we know it's we get it. I think we do get it. It is that's a strength thing. He said it. It is about strength. I mean, it's hard fighting these temptations.
Say they spiritual. That don't mean to me that they're a good person. It means that they are easily influenced. Because when you say spirits, call them by names. Which one do you prefer? Because I know the names. If you're gonna worship the devil, you don't do it by accident. You do not do it by accident. So this notion that we're at the mercy of this is what bothers me.
Wow. Good.
That's what bothers me the most.
Don't the good book say evil communication corrupts good manner?
Yes, it does.
It is very corrupting. But one is also that all you gotta do is resist it.
To Rico's point, Leonard, and we got to pull some more people into the conversation. But to Rico's point, is everybody always but is everybody able to fight it off just that easy? Is it that easy for people just to fight it off?
But it's not a fight for everybody. That's the thing. It's not a fight at all. They just prefer mammon. They prefer the devil. They prefer that behavior.
No, Leonard. I don't know if a person
No.
Listen to my point before you dispute my point. Listen to my point. I don't think that there's people out there that's addicted to certain things that want to leave it alone, but it has a power or a hold on them. I don't think they want to. I don't think they all
on here and say they changed their life one day.
Say it again.
Look how many people have come on this show and talk about who they used to be.
And also, if you're gonna look at that side of the coin, let's flip it and look at all the people that have succumbed to the demons that they were dealing with, that has succumbed, that cannot come on here and say a word because of the fact that they've died from it.
But some of them are in league with the devil.
That's not what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to talk about that, then you don't really understand what this fight and what salvation is about.
It's not that we don't want to talk about that. That was not the base of the conversation we was having. You're throwing something different into it right now, and that's why I say we're not talking about that. But let me do this right here. Let me go to Mr. Hicks. Mr. Hicks, what's on your heart?
Oh wow, y'all should finish that. I don't know.
Mr. Hicks is a great example.
You gotta let somebody else talk now. Hold on now. Go ahead, Mr. Hicks.
I hear what he's saying, and I agree to a certain extent. But the thing you find out about the human, but I mean, you can go any kind of way you want. Psychology, just Skinner engrams when you traumatize as a child, all how to it's such a complicated life we have, each one of us in our different experiences, and we respond to it different kind of ways. When Jesus said on the cross, "Forgive them, for they know not what they're doing," he was saying something that's the very core spirit of the human being that do this kind of thing to another person. He's speaking to the heart of anyone that would do this to someone, and to do it to someone that's innocent too. They don't know what they're doing. Also, they're in possession. They're possessed by idea, possessed by the fury of the crowd. The crowd have a psychology. That's the thing that Germany and Hitler showed, that you get the people with motion, get a crowd moving, and people get caught up in a crowd, sort of like a crowd psychology, and then they have a crowd psychosis. The whole crowd could go crazy. We did it with this COVID thing. We did it with that. It was an example. I really believe that's a test run. But so I think that people do the best they can, and looking on the eyes with a compassion. I couldn't change myself. I couldn't get the hate out of me. I tried. I knew it wasn't good, but it felt good when I lived my life out of that. It was a freedom. It's a freedom to hate. Purely be able to hate where make you do things you can't even you don't do them, you think about things that's abnormal. It was me getting to a point of brokenness and recognizing there was a power greater than I am. I could put it in a religious tone and say it was this and say it was that, but something happened to my heart.
Yeah.
Something changed my heart, the very core of me. It was contrite. It was contrite. When I saw myself, when I saw who I became, I broke down in tears. I was ashamed of myself.
Wow. That's powerful.
And just getting to that brokenness, getting to that thing, and like saying, like, God, what am I going to do? Somebody help me. If you there, Lord, help me.
Yeah.
And to ask, and then to feel something happen, not gradually. Not subtle, not like subtle where you just think about it, but like a flash of light, you feel a change, bang. And that's the only thing you can have faith to pushing somebody to, with a compassion heart, because no one's going to change till they come to that point. It is different levels for all of us. You got to come to a point you recognize that, boy, it's my fault. I was wrong. I shouldn't have did that. I knew I shouldn't have did that.
Yeah.
Who's going to take this pain out of my heart? I can't take it out. People come to me at night. I hear whispers and I'm living with this. I'm seeing stuff from Vietnam, seeing stuff that I imagine, all kind of stuff. They call it PTSD and all that stuff. Give me all kind of narcotics and stuff. Stop taking it. But when something happened, you don't need the drugs no more. I got to draw. I still take it. I still get let them give it to me. I don't take any of that stuff. None of it. Now I stopped smoking cigarettes. Believe that?
Yeah.
I made my mind up. And I know this here, anytime you make your mind up, and that's what brother's talking about. I understand that. He come from a strong, but that's the thing. My wife, my mother, everybody used to tell me, they said, Ed, you can't judge everybody by yourself. You read all these books, you read these things, you know this stuff. You can't be judging. And for years I did. But even that, you can't even get rid of that. You can't stop judging people. You got to rely on a power greater than you are for most of the things you need to change about yourself, because they're so entrenched. They talk about how the signals, you have to rewire signals to go around certain areas to correct an engram. What L. Ron Hubbard, Scientology talk about engrams and clearing. They say if you slap a child, slap them and say a hateful thing, it puts an engram deep down inside their soul. And these are the things when these people that have less children, they see these things. They have an eye, they see this hurt inside children. and that's how they pick them.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Wow.
you got to have that compassion. You got to keep compassion.
Exactly. Exactly.
People doing the best they can. Believe it or not, they're doing it. We all doing the best we can.
Four Square Conversation is one square conversation tonight. Badger, what's on your heart? Ryan, coming to you next.
Oh man, what? How it's turned. Yeah, this is something me and Hicks actually talks about off and on when me and him talk. Influence and perception, good foundations, and the discernment. If we have, there are those that can have a good foundation and still end up going down the wrong road or a dark road. There are those that experience the dark road and walk away from it, and everything in between. Talking about rap music and things like that, to me, I just, you know me, I look at how things are connected. Like I mentioned before, I heard more nasty things before I was ever exposed to rap music.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things that could have turned me into a very twisted human being. But something in my mind and heart went, that's not how things is. People are, I was being lied to, deceived. Some of it was because the people that were teaching me or trying to teach me to think like they didn't know any better either. They were trusting the people that were in power.
Mhm.
So I just look at things, and when you look at music, it can be very influential. It can be. That's where inner strength comes in. And no, not everyone has the same kind of strength. No, not everyone
Exactly.
can listen to whatever.
Mhm.
I
Exactly.
mean, I wish, but that's not how it works.
Mhm.
However, there's also people out here that are just straight up evil. Like, I would love that. I brought up something to you before the show. If you can tell me what would cause a human being to say something like that other than just evil, I would love to hear it.
Mhm.
Because I, I know rap music could possibly influence somebody, sure, depending on where their mindset is. I'm a firm believer that we have choices. Can trauma hijack our brains? Can our situations lead us in different directions?
Hey, hey,
Yes,
hey, hey, Badger, have you ever heard of some subliminal messages?
all too well.
Okay. And do you know if
Okay,
if a person plays a subliminal message, they can program you and make you go out there and do things that you normally would not do because they planted something inside of your mind. They used to do it in advertising all the time. It became illegal.
they
Okay.
ain't stopped.
I know. I
Um,
know. I know.
so so yes, to a degree, but there's a reason why critical thinking was taken out of schools. There was a reason certain things have happened. However, I have a responsibility as a parent and as a member of community to do my best to educate, share, do whatever I can to help others.
Mhm.
That is a responsibility I have as a human being in the area that I'm in.
Mhm.
So it's kind of wild. I brought up the other day, even talking about music, talking about how politics work. Because to me, politics and music ain't no different at all to me.
Wow. Wow.
Because they select who we see on the news and who we see in media, and the ones that they don't want on there don't get put on there.
Good deal. Good
So
deal.
they use these tactics in everything.
Mhm.
So if you want, however, you don't have to go with peer pressure. for anyone listening. You don't. If you don't like the music, don't listen to it.
Wow. Wow.
There's genres and artists all over the place.
That's good. That's good. Let's stay right there. But then again, again, I see it's to a certain degree, brother. It's easier said than done. It's easier said than
Okay.
done. But let me go to
One last
Ryan
thing.
and then
Hold
Pete.
on. Hold on.
Badger, it's been 5 minutes, brother. It's been 5 minutes already. I'm watching my
Mm,
clock. You had 5 minutes. Wrap it up real quickly. I gotta go to somebody else.
I told y'all how I was brought up. That being a poor white-skinned human, I had
Mhm.
less privilege than anybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did that turn me into a racist, or did I learn that it was a lie?
Again, I know. Ryan, you back with us, brother?
Yeah, I'm
Pete,
here. I never left.
Pete, coming to you next, brother. What's on your heart, Ryan?
I don't really know what to say now. Yeah,
You got thrown off, brother?
I guess. Hold on now, Hicks.
And Mr. Pete got choked. Oh Lord.
Hold on now, Hicks.
You all right over there, brother? It's the big one. It's the big one. Coming to join you, Elizabeth. I'm coming to join you, honey. It's a big one.
Oh
Go
man,
ahead, Ryan. Go ahead, Ryan.
I don't know, man. It's I can't really touch on the aspect of religion with all this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been there. I lived on the street. I've been in church most of my life. I'll never step foot in the church again.
Let me ask you a question. Because I've heard you say that a couple of times. During that phase in your life, was being in the church, was it ever good for you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I don't really talk about it too much, but I was a private security guard for one of the biggest evangelists in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if you did your due diligence, you'll see me on the interwebs out there.
Okay.
And they used to use me as a prop,
Wow.
and that's what started the decline. You see how I am all inked up with all this stuff, and to them it was cute that a person like myself who identifies as a pagan would come to church.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we won. We got the pagan in here. Put me on display on all over the TV.
Wow.
But they don't, these people don't understand that you can't just say, and see, now you done got me started. And you can't just say, this way is the right way and you wrong. Can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know. You really don't. You got a book. I got books too, older than that book. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not trying to get into all that, but I can't do the religious and spiritual aspect other than I know what music does to me, and I know there's certain things.
You say you know what music does to you. Can it calm you as well as enrage you?
Absolutely. I can listen to certain things. I have a playlist specifically for sleep. Because like Hicks, I got PTSD like crazy. And I have to stay calm when I sleep or I'm waking up reaching, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I will, Rico. But it's also music that I play at work when I got 100,000 pounds of tires that got to get off these trucks and everybody moving slow.
Mm-hmm.
They know when they hear a certain type of music coming out the back of that trailer, they better move it or they're gonna get run down, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same thing spiritually. Like I listen to a lot of my cultural music, and that stuff you guys would identify with it as like Native American music or shamanistic music, right? And it puts me in a trance-like state to where, you know, most people pray. I do that and it takes that stress off me. It helps me It helps me work through my pain, helps me work through the problems that I got, the stresses of the day. When I was in church, if I threw out some incense, burn the incense, the Lord loves incense. He loves that smell, that burning smell of incense. And when I would pray or get into a meditative trance or something like that, that incense would take it to the next level, to where it was like, no matter what's going on around me, I ain't hearing you. I ain't seeing you. I'm in a specific place and you don't exist. So, yes, that can happen. And like Rico was saying, MK Ultra, you talk about subliminal messaging. MK Ultra, it's the next level of subliminal messaging. It's like mind control. Okay. This is a different facet of what we're talking about. Like, you remember Oklahoma City bombing?
Yeah.
Everybody remembers that, right? A lot of people never saw the video with my man after they got him and arrested him and put him up against that cop car, and he's sitting there foaming at the mouth like a rabid dog, begging them to take the chip out of his head. Take it out, take it out, take it out. I did what you asked me to do. You remember was it Denzel? He did that movie where they would call on the phone and it would play a certain Manchurian candidate. Thank you, brother. That's MK Ultra. That's that subliminal messaging to the point where they've hypnotized you enough to where you hear sounds, you hear music, you hear a certain beat, and you start doing what they programmed your mind to do. Like, whether you believe in that stuff or not, it's real. You see it on the TV every day. Look at these Doritos; they good.
Watch this. I'm gonna say something, and don't comment on it, but and we're gonna move on to some. Pete, we coming to you. Do they use that on a lot of the politicians? Don't comment. Don't comment at all. Don't say a word. Pete, what's on your heart, brother?
If we can see the reality of this existence and the forces at work, the efforts that are taking place as a TV screen portrayed in the sky, I wonder how many of us would drop dead instantly. Just out of sheer shock and fear of the reality of what you see.
Come on.
Listening to you all tonight, you went on a full scope and scale on some things. You touched on mind control and subliminal messages and influencing and social engineering and social engineering 101, the traumas of life and the programming or the predetermined goals to be achieved. And so many of these effects are the reality of someone of some other will on so many more. And look at the effects of it.
Yep.
And it's real. You're looking in the mirror blaming me, I'm blaming you blaming it, you blaming them. And then my brother Lennox was talking about some individual responsibility. My goodness. My goodness. No wonder they say Jesus wept. He crying out, because I'm talking about this is for real. Look at all of what you all discussed tonight.
Yes.
And the reality of it and the effects of it. And it's real. It's real. It's actually very ever present and active right now. Isn't that something? We sitting up here talking about music. Man, they put on some music, some old school jazz music, just had you floating in the air. They had some smooth jazz today. The present smooth jazz had you floating in the air.
Yeah.
You can put on some 70s true R&B where they talking about love. Man, they had you just walking around smiling and skipping. Just happy. Yeah, right. Exactly. And then you can put on some, some disco music. You find yourself moving, don't even want to move, but they got you moving. Just the rhythm of it just inspires you to move. Isn't that something? But then you can put on some music that could bring out some lower level things. I'm gonna beat it up. I could just kill a man. Come on. You can bring out I hate. Why do we should kill them all, and what is that inspiring, right? So it's really something, to observe, to listen, to comprehend the reality of this existence and the forces that are at work. So our individual responsibility is definitely very critical. And being an influence yourself and those around you is critical. And definitely always probably was, but definitely is today because of the efforts that are going forward, the works that are going forward. So many different things to choose from. What's the moral, the scale compass today? How do we grade that?
Wow.
What? How do we measure that today? Morals, principles, character. How do we measure that today? I mean, what's acceptable? What's not? There's so many things that wasn't acceptable years ago are acceptable today. So if we continue on in time, 50 years from now, what would be the norm 50 years from now that we denigrate today?
Wow, that's good.
Will it get better? Will it get worse? So, it's just really something. It's something for us to all stop and consider because it's changing. So much is changing. It's changing. Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? We all here right now. The book say decide whether you're gonna serve this or that.
Yeah.
Maybe we all better make a decision.
Exactly. Hey, Ryan, read the screen. There's a question for you. Somebody on Twitch is asking this question right here. Can you see it?
Yeah, I was actually fixing to log into Twitch and type back to him, but
It's not Twitch, it's YouTube.
It's YouTube. Oh yeah, that's YouTube.
Oh,
yeah, that's YouTube. Okay.
What I meant by cultural music is like, so you say you're Native American descent. So I listen to Nordic music. My culture is the northern parts, Norway, Scandinavia, Iceland, Greenland, etc., etc. It's a very similar style of music to Native American shamanistic music, drums made out of skin and bones and things like that. And it carries a specific tune, if that answers your question.
And I think the culture is referred to as Celtic culture.
It's Norse culture. Celtic culture is a separate entity in itself. That's more like Irish forest lands, fairies and stuff like that.
Right.
We don't go that route.
because like when people say native,
that's what a Celtics logo come
native,
from.
they would automatically assume Native American, as opposed to where it comes from. It's native there, as opposed to here.
I feel you, Leonard. I feel you.
Rico.
Yeah, I figured that's what they were talking about too. They didn't know he was talking about Nordic culture. They thought he was talking about native Indian American culture. Yeah, but man, Pete, he pretty much hit it, man. Everybody's hitting it, man. I mean, I think we really do have to acknowledge the weakness of the flesh, no matter how strong we think we are, how much stronger we are than the average of other people. Still, at least acknowledge and be able to understand the power of subliminal or subconscious influence. I mean, because with that, I mean, everybody that's here, like Leonard, being strong and not being influenced by music, he was influenced by people to become who he was. You still had some type of influence that was reinforced over and over consistently, that became a consistent principle and norm in your environment that made it a lot harder for you to go and stray from these other things. And maybe other people went through some things that made them sort of get easily influenced to go against the principles. I'm one of those people that, once again, I could tell you how, when I ask myself, man, what made me do that? How I end up in this situation? And in the process of me accepting accountability for the choices that I made, I still have to ask myself, well, what made me feel like it was cool? Because I still knew I was wrong, that I shouldn't have been doing it. What still made me feel like it was okay to go ahead and at least try it one time, not realizing that was going to be like tasting sugar? And I asked myself what it was, and it's always some type of influence that overrode my principles and my upbringing and my standards that made me say, okay, now it's acceptable. Now it's okay to do this. Why? Because I'm making money. Is it? I remember I didn't even know what a crack rock looked like. I wasn't cool with weed smokers, and I didn't think, you know what I'm saying, that selling crack was a good thing. I could have been a Republican, a Ronald Reagan Republican back in the day. I didn't support him, but I was definitely saying no to drugs.
Yeah.
But man, somehow that culture made it seem like it was cool. And you know, I talked earlier about people being motivated. When you come from a condition where you don't see nothing but poverty and despair, you're gonna be motivated by the first or the best thing that look like it has a way out from your despair. And if that person is the drug dealer, the athlete, or whoever is getting recognition, or whoever is getting some tail, or getting some women in your neighborhood in the projects where it ain't a whole lot of high standards, but at least somebody seeing some type of reward, somebody seeing some type of benefit or happiness, you're gonna get motivated by those people. And so, you know, if that becomes your way of attaining some type of pleasure or success, you're gonna see it as an acceptable thing to do, because it's better than where you came from. It's better than nothing. So, you know, we have to understand all the different things that will influence a person to go against some of the things that they don't really stand for. Man, it's easy to do that, especially when the influence is money and survival, because you need money to survive. If your survival is dependent on it, then you might do something strange for a little piece of change. And after you do it that first time, you get a little more comfortable, and now you're full-fledged on OnlyFans, making big bucks. Used to be a preacher's daughter.
Or a preacher.
You still a preacher's daughter.
Or a preacher, yeah.
You still a preacher's daughter.
A preacher's daughter, you know. Exactly.
Anyway, it's been a great broadcast. Normally we have what we call Foursquare Conversation, but like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 2, and as for tonight, 1 square conversation. But it's been so powerful, man, and we definitely need to revisit this again at a later date, and we definitely will. Right now, I want to go around and give everybody an opportunity to say what they want to say very briefly in their closing. We have 3 minutes before we get out of here. So, Badger, in your closing, sir.
Choose what you allow to influence you.
Good deal. Good deal. Leonard.
Pretty much just like Badger was saying, you have to learn how to fight these things. These things are you supposed to be fighting. You cannot give in to every wind that blows. You just cannot. And I would advise you, if you teach your children to do that which is right when they are young, it will come back to them. At least the knowledge of good and evil is what we have. That is what we have to use to discern on which we're going to be a part of. Nothing about what is going on do I get to take to judgment with me.
Now,
Not
Leonard,
one thing.
you gonna
So
take
it
the whole
can't be
3?
that
You gonna
important.
take the whole 3 minutes, man?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
How many more minutes I got?
None. Ryan, in your closing, sir.
Oh man, I'll close with this. Rico had just mentioned succumbing to the OnlyFans, and I read an article about a 55-year-old mom. She started doing OnlyFans. She was making a little bit of change, right? And she never showed her face on the other things. And then they convinced her to show her face, and now she's doing 6 figures times 3.
Wow.
In just a year. And like, to some people that's appealing, but man, that's a whole different part of your soul you giving out right there. That's not just a soul tie. That's a global tie.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Pete.
Know the truth, the universal truth. Find it, seek it, and know it. And then know yourself. Honor your fathers and mothers. Go forward strong. Be a supporter, exemplify of love. Stand for the truth. Exemplify justice. Operate in your freedom. That's what I would say to everyone.
Absolutely.
And enjoy the rest of the evening.
Absolutely. Rico.
When death and destruction makes sense because it's profitable, that means they say money is money over everything. And if you ever want to question what they mean by selling your soul, that is it, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
When you can go from 6 figures times 3 just to show your face and lower your dignity, that's a little bit more for that almighty manufactured, man-made, materialistic dollar.
Mm-hmm. Say that. Say that.
We are under the influence, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you realize it or not, in some way, we are under the influence of what man has created and not under the influence of righteousness. Don't indulge in everything.
Exactly. Exactly. And on that note, Brother Pete, can I get you to pray us out, brother?
Sure. Father God, we humble ourselves before you tonight. Thank you for the activity of our mind and limbs, a reasonable portion of health and strength. We thank you for the conversation that has gone forward. We ask that you would bless all in attendance and their families. Bless us as we go our separate ways. Keep us safe until we meet again, and reveal yourself and your administration to each and every one, and help us to live up to our potential, your desires for each and every one of us in our life in this form. We will give you all the glory, honor, and praise for all that said, done, and accomplished. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. It's been a great broadcast. We only got to one square tonight, but it was a powerful square. It was a very powerful square. And I appreciate everything that was said tonight. And I applaud everybody for the transparency and everything that they bring to this particular broadcast. This is Real Men Being Men. We're here every Tuesday from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I look forward to this. I look forward to real men getting together and everybody coming from their perspective. And do we always agree? Absolutely not. Are we going to agree? No. That's what makes it so beautiful. Everybody come from their own perspective and everybody come from their own individual truths. I can't, like I say all the time, I don't give anybody their opinion. Everybody have their own. I got mine, they got theirs, and we just open to have the open and honest dialogue amongst each other as men. That's a beautiful thing. Now, it is 10:02. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And more than that, I want to thank you for allowing DKM Media Group and Associates and Real Men Being Men for being a part of your evening. Again, it is 10:02. You're about to exit Real Men Being Men. But before you go, I want you to do me 2 favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number 2, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. And we shine some of this light on you from Real Men Being Men. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in and let your light so shine. If you get an opportunity, give somebody some love. You just might find some love in return. Won't that be a beautiful thing? Have a great day. Take care of each other. And please, please, please be blessed. Talk to you tomorrow morning on The Morning Glow. You all have a great night. Great night. Love you. And take care of each other. Give each other some love and truth. They will appreciate it. And I'm sure that you will as well. Have a great night.